Let's bring our first guest up. He is the originator of Art Happy Hour, a opportunity for artsy folks to get together and have a couple of drinks. He's a longtime arts writer who's written for City Pages, for Art in America, for OC Weekly, Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine, and you can read his arts blog at utney.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our first guest, Michael Fallon.
Thank you.
Did anyone get that?
No.
I didn't think so. I mean...
Score one for me.
Well, I don't know. No, I think that's score one for art. If
That's a song that's probably the only song you'll ever come across where you'll see a rhyme between Pinky May and Frenchy Bordigaray. It's a song called Van Lingle Mungo by St. Paul's own Dave Frischberg.
Yeah, I mean, when people, yeah, right, yeah. See, people clapping is a St. Paul kind of reference.
Yeah.
So anyway, art and baseball are two things that are pretty closely related, I would say, in terms of the crossover between the fan base. No, I hear chuckling out there, but it's true. A lot of baseball fans tend to be art people, and a lot of art people tend to be baseball fans. That's sort of the thesis that we're kind of this whole endeavor precariously rests upon.
That's right, and that's kind of the subject of my talk.
Oh, what
Good
a perfect
lead-in,
coincidence. Let's do it.
So I was going to start by saying that baseball is often talked about as a writer's sport, and you could look at if you look at a list of writers who've written about baseball, you kind of have an American literary who's who. So you can go from people like Ring Lardner and Damon Runyon to William Carlos Williams, John Updike, Marianne Moore, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, Don Barthelme, Donald Hall, Charles Bukowski, Philip Roth, whose Great American Novel was a novel about a baseball league that was infiltrated by communists during World War II. Don DeLillo, of course, Yusuf Kumunyaka, and of course our very own Peter Schilling, who you'll get to see later tonight. But I would argue, as George Will, you could go.
This is my George Will outfit, actually. I'm glad somebody said that. I was thinking, what should I wear tonight? And I, kind of public intellectual was sort of...
You have to stop somewhere. The list could go on and on. I would argue that artists actually are just as connected to baseball, and just as many artists have taken on baseball as a subject throughout the past century and a half. We all know Norman Rockwell, of course, and that's a starting point. But if you go back even to the beginnings of baseball, there were serious art images of the sport. This is an image, a Currier and Ives print from 1866 that actually predates professional baseball. This is called the American National Game of Baseball, 2 words. It's a grand match for the championship at the Elysian Fields, Hoboken, New Jersey, and it's 1866. This is an image from 1875, a few years after the start of professional baseball, by the most famous artist of the time, Thomas Eakins. And what I find interesting about this, and what I find interesting about art images of baseball, they really reflect something about the time period, what's going on in the culture or in baseball. And just in this 10 years or 9 years between these images, the image of baseball completely changes from sort of this bucolic rural sport, almost looks like something you do at a picnic, to this is now very professionalized. It's got players with uniforms. You can see a hint of the stands. They're looking very iconic now.
And if we were in a Ken Burns documentary, which we're not, but if we were, this would be the moment where we say that the thing about baseball that is so great is that you've got the continuity. You can look at an image from 1870, and I mean, there's some differences in between what players look like now and what they looked like then, but there's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot of crossover. I mean, it's essentially the same uniform.
Yeah, and then what then happens is that as you move on into the 20th century, artists start to use baseball as sort of a ground for their concerns. This is an image from 1919 by James Doherty, who was a synchronist artist. And you can see sort of the growth of modernism coming into the image of baseball. This dynamism, stuff that was going on in art at the time.
Yeah, it's an industrial, fast-paced, modern game.
Then you've got the Ashcan school artist George Lux doing an image. This is called Boy with Baseball, obviously enough, from 1925, showing a bit, just a glimpse at the urban grit that these artists were interested in. Moving along, we see. We skipped one.
Did we?
Can I go back?
Yeah, you're good with that.
Missed one. Okay.
Oh no. Sorry
there was another image, Jacob Lawrence, from 1949, an image called Strike, where you start to see the power and dynamism of the American century coming along. This is an image, this is an abstract expressionist painter, Elaine de Kooning, who actually did a large amount of baseball images. She seemed to be very fascinated with baseball. This is called Baseball Players from 1953.
Do you want to speculate about what teams are being represented here? Because I think, it's New York. So
pretty sure, yeah. Her images were kind of all sort of Mickey Mantle type players.
Very big. The super studs. Do you think that's the Red Sox right there?
Could be. Or Cleveland
Phillies.
Indians.
Yeah, it could be Indians too.
Moving into the 60s, even Andy Warhol took on baseball as a subject. This is an image called Baseball from 1962. It was one of his earliest screen prints, and it's an image of Roger Maris hitting in the middle of a home run swing from his record-breaking year the year before.
The thing about Warhol at this time too is like the sort of the paintings he's making, or the sort of screen print paintings that he's making at this time, are mostly like of death and disaster and car wrecks and sort of
and Marilyn Monroe.
And Marilyn Monroe. Well, yeah, but even before that a little bit, you've got this sort of the whole disaster series. The refuse and wreckage of the modern age.
Yeah, I don't think he was terribly interested in baseball as much as the death and dismemberment stuff. And he had those images of Jackie Kennedy, which these look a lot like, of her in the aftermath of JFK's murder.
Yeah, repeated over and over and over.
So he kind of gave up baseball, except
when there was money.
Forward, yeah, when there's money, you go forward. He was actually commissioned in 1985 by the Cincinnati Museum of Art to do an image of Pete Rose to celebrate his breaking the career hits record.
Actually, it was in Cincinnati where Mapplethorpe got in trouble in the late 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that Jesse Helms would rather have seen wholesome paintings of Pete Rose?
Could be.
But wait a second. How wholesome is it? Because was there not a conversation between the commissioners of this painting and Mr. Warhol himself?
Well, so reportedly, Andy Warhol did not know who Pete Rose was. And he knew enough about baseball to say, well, which side of the plate am I supposed to depict him from? Which side? And he was told, much to his everlasting mirth, that Pete Rose was a switch hitter, which completely cracked up Warhol for reasons not related to baseball. So I could go on and on.
Pete Rose had the greatest lesbian haircut of all time.
That's right.
It's a standard. It's iconic. I think they should let him into the Hall of Fame just for that.
The list of artists who've done baseball images goes on and on. Ben Shahn, Robert Rauschenberg, Ed Ruscha. This is a more recent one. Oops.
Other way. Yeah, there we go.
This is an image. This is John Baldessari. An image called Baseball, parentheses, with beer. It's obviously a still from one of the best baseball movies ever made.
That's true.
Bad News Bears.
Our next guest is a beloved former Twins blogger,